Look, everybody, something we can take out of a box. I know how exciting that is for some of you. You remember the EcoFlow. Doesn't that look dramatic? Okay, we were at 31%. This is fancy. Oh my gosh. I'm such a fancy bitch with this. Right? This honking thing. I'm not even flexing. This big battery, I did a review on, a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. Who knows? I don't even know what day it is. Most days now in quarantine, I wake up and, wander out to find anything to do. And I'm like, did I put pants on? This battery, and I've tested more than a few batteries at this point, enough to have an opinion. And not like I keep those to myself. But, if you go through enough batteries, you see the nuances between all of them. And some are just, frankly, better than others. So I had really no expectations for when I did the EcoFlow 1300. And I fell in love with it. Like, I have dreams about this thing. I love this thing. Oh. Yes! The EcoFlow 1300, the Delta, gets used every day in here. I have no issues with it. A couple people were a little confused, as sometimes happens on the internet, because the wattage on the Delta is 1800 with a surge significantly higher than that, but it has a little less than 1300 watt hours. And I'm not an electrician. I know that may be hard to believe, but when I do these reviews, I don't have like some of the fancy schmancy meters and like all that other stuff. But in general, what you need to understand about the difference between watts and watt hours is that watts is essentially the power, the demand of energy at a moment in time. And then watt hours is over an hour. Right, so you're measuring capacity in watt hours. So some people in that review were like, you misrepresented it. It only has 1280 watt hours, not 1800. Well, watt hour and a watt are not the same thing, right? You're measuring power at an instant versus capacity over time, okay? And those little terms will come up throughout this. Although if you're hoping for like some highly technical electrician review video, you might be in the wrong spot, and the pink bandana should clue you into that. All right? So we're going to go through their new product in just the same way I've done everything else, because if I buy something, especially if I'm going to spend the kind of money that these products cost, I want to open it out of the box, and I want to be able to use it. Open it, use it. Right? So that's how we're going to do this review. Now we are going to unbox. I just know how exciting that is. The new model that they have, and this one is on Kickstarter right now. Kickstarter is a little bit different than if you're ordering directly from the company. The Delta 1300 that I love, you can order that directly from them. They ship it to you. With the Kickstarter campaigns, they have to exceed their campaign goals, which they've already done, and then they ship product, right? And so you're making a pledge, and for that pledge you get the product. I want you to know that because it is different from like a traditional buying thing. I also want you to know that because with everything that is going on in this shit show of Corona, shipping times are all over the place. Amazon 2-day? No. I don't get anything 2-day anymore. But that said, when you look at the Kickstarter pledge page, if you fall in love with this thing, whatever hops out of this box when I open it, you are looking at shipping times between August, and some of the models were in October. So if you are going to be hitting the road anytime between now and then, I want you to know that, because I've yet to work with a single one of these battery companies where they don't run out of product. Like really quick, and then you've got to wait for them to get product back, and then it has to be shipped. So if you like it, I would not wait, because they will probably run out pretty quick, and then you're just going to be waiting and waiting and waiting. So let's talk about the first irony here, is that this product is called EcoFlow, eco, environment, and yet they had to use the entire world's tape supply to ship it to me. So God knows where the top of this thing is. is this so difficult? Give it to me! So the most challenging part about using an EcoFlow battery is getting out of the fucking box. This model is the R600. They have different, there's like the R600 Pro, the R600 Max, all that. I am not going to take up your whole life discussing the nuances of all those. I will link you to the information if you want to get those different models. But this is, again, the R600. And we're looking at about 11 pounds. That seems to be one of the big concerns with people is in getting these batteries is how much does it weigh, because every time you add a pound to your rig, that's going to affect your fuel efficiency. 11 pounds is absolutely nothing. I would not worry about that. Now when you start adding multiple larger batteries, if you go into the lead acid battery scene like what I had, very heavy, very, very heavy. Okay, warranties, important, right? 24-month warranty. Pay attention when you're buying anything, how long the warranty is, because if the warranty is teeny tiny, that's kind of a company's way of saying, yeah, we're not really sure if this is gonna work, right? Because they don't want you to have to send it back and have to work on it. 24 months is a pretty damn impressive warranty. Good God Almighty. Connection to chain the batteries together. I'm assuming that's a second battery. I don't know if I can go through the trauma of having to open another one of these. You got your solar panel cables. As you know, I have nothing nice to say about solar. What I will say that the alleged charge time for this model on solar is about half of the traditional time. I'm not going to go through that. They did not include a solar panel in this, but you can use a third-party solar panel of your choosing. We've got the thing I'm actually interested in, which is charging the wall, and as standard, they come with a car charger, right? What did you do to baby? It's tiny. Oh. All right, maybe let's look at some differences, right? Just like right off the bat. EcoFlow Delta. This is a big bitch. However, its output is phenomenal. It charges like that. I was super impressed. However, not everybody is really thrilled with having these big batteries around. It is heavy to carry. It is heavy to transport. So now you have something that is much lighter and much smaller, but correspondingly has less output, right? However, they have added some new technology with their inverter in here that is supposed to make this as badass almost as this thing in a tinier package and for a cheaper price. All right, so let's just take a look at what some of the difference are on the face front. The Delta has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 standard plug areas, and with the 600 you're looking at 1, 2, 3 AC power units. You've got these little circles on the side, right? These two plugs. This is where you are going to chain up two separate batteries if you have two separate batteries. Now, another interesting thing about what they've done with the 600 model is that because it has chaining capacity, which really is, I don't know of any other battery maker that has that function, you can chain them together. You can hook them up to a lead acid battery. I mean, you've got a real unique way of expanding capacity and output by having the ability to link them in the first place. So that's really unique. On the front, we have our pretty standard light. We have a USB-C port, which, you know, about time, because those bastards at Apple keep changing the plugs for all their technology. Everybody else has to rush to keep up. So this is great because if you have a newer iPhone, you just plug that in, or the newer Macs, yeah, USBs are all gone, so you have to have a USB-C. And the big problem with that is you have to buy all these stupid adapters. Well, on this one, you don't need an adapter. You can just plug it right in. We have 3 USB ports, including a fast charge, and then our 13.6 volt. That's for our car charge, right? What else do we have here? Overload protection. You've got a place to plug in your solar panel and then your 120 volt charge right there. And that seems to be kind of the general deal. So we've not lost a huge amount of function besides the AC ports, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I have never needed more than 3 of the AC ports on the Delta, so that's kind of really all you need. All right, let's open up the other box. Two baby. I need a break. I need a snack. The 600 comes with what is essentially like an extension, okay? Which then becomes an arts and crafts project. And their thinking there is that you can buy additional, more of these and build your essentially build your battery how you want it. As it is, just that base unit, you're looking at like 288 watt hours. Again, watt hours, a measure of capacity. Once you add that extra base in that came in yet another piece of packaging, then you are up into the 500 watt hour capacity. So you have sort of this unique ability here to build your own capacity, and that can help people out who are trying to stay on a budget or who maybe don't have the money to go all out on like something like the Delta, but you can build what you need, right? And then the really sexy thing is, of course, you're supposed to be able to link these together and then just double everything, so now you're in the 1100 plus watt hour capacity. And I think at that point, you have to make some decisions based on your build or your storage or just how many things you want to deal with. If you'd rather have multiple units that you can add onto your power to increase it or decrease it based on your needs, or if you just want one that sort of takes care of everything, but you can't add or subtract accordingly. Okay, so I am going to turn these on and see how much charge we have, and then we're going to do the kettle test again because the kettle is the only thing I care about. I can find really small batteries to charge my laptop. That doesn't impress me. If you start running a kettle and a hairdryer, when you're on the road for months at a time and I don't have an excuse anymore. Yes, I do. I do have an excuse. Things like that will be big gets. So we know that the Delta can do it, and so let's see if this can do it, because the inverter that they put in here, which has some sexy name, hold on, let me find it. I took notes so I didn't screw any of this up. It's called the X Boost, and the claim is that it's a 600 watt inverter that is able to make devices run more efficiently. So it should be able to run up to a 1200 watt device. We'll see. We are starting with 30% charge. So let's plug these babies in, get them all the way up, and then make them work. Immediate observation, perhaps do you like my dirty dishes in the sink? I'm such wife material. The Delta, the big kahuna that I love so much, that is loud when it's charging. I mean, it's pretty loud, but I forgave all that because it's such a great battery, right? These are quiet. Now, I don't know if that has to do with the fact that it's just you're demanding less output from them, but this is a much quieter charge, even with both of them going. I'm not sure what this disco light thing is at the bottom. Okay, we are about an hour out and they stopped cycling, so I'm gonna assume that they are charged. And they are, with mood lighting. So allegedly, this thing, which is a fraction of the cost from the Delta, should be able to handle my favorite thing in the world. And let's just see about that, shall we? All right, let's turn it on, plug this in. Oh, she's gassing up. 600 watt output. I don't hear any strain. It's holding around 600 watt output. I'll be damned. Boil the water. Oof. Safety issues, Casey. That's hot as all hell. Steaming, boiled. Okay, but at what cost? Let me... Well, she's still gonna... It's pretty warm, right? So the battery's been working pretty hard. When I did this same kettle test, first of all, let me just say to their credit that I'm amazed that this tiny thing boiled this much water. Phenomenal. And it didn't like surge, it didn't rev up. I mean, could totally handle it. But when I used the kettle on the Delta, it took 11% of my total battery power to boil the water, and it was pretty damn quick. This took several minutes, and I'm down from 100% to 42%. So, and this is where we talk about capacity, right? This is just, it is $1,400. The Delta is not cheap, but it has all that capacity. I also want to say that they are releasing this whole line of new batteries all at once, and it's a little bit confusing. There's the R600, and that is just this part, and then what makes it max is the additional watt hour capacity here, but there's a pro, and there's, I mean, you're really, if you want to order this, you're going to have to go on the website and like make sure that you understand what you have. But just this part is inexpensive. It's $2.99. Together, these two to make it a max, $3.99, and plus if you use the coupon code and all the swag that I put below, you get even more discounts. All right, this is a huge investment. The Delta is $1,400, but you're getting a whole lot more capacity and a lot more power. If I was doing this in the van, you know, I'd have to find some way to charge this back up again pretty soon, because I'm going to have at least 10 cups of tea that day, and that's not going to cut it. All right, so we're at 42. Let's try a hairdryer, because that was another thing I never had in the van, was a hairdryer. Handled it, turned it on. Yeah, I heard a little bit of surging in the hairdryer, but it got hot. Within a couple minutes, I was down 5%. So you're gonna come down on how much these can hold pretty quick, it seems. But that, like, it's kind of besides the point, because that these can handle this at all is frankly sort of miraculous. And you don't appreciate that until you've lived in a van conversion or been boondocking for a long amount of time, in that I've not known any other product that is this cheap that can handle this kind of wattage. And yeah, it's not going to hold it very long, but that is pretty amazing. Okay, this little symbol is supposed to mean that they are linked. But this keeps happening where it says overload. And the mood lighting is now warning red. It doesn't work. Hi boys and girls, we are back for day 2 of this adventure through EcoFlow battery. Here's what happened. When the overheating and the shutting down started going on, when I X-linked or chained these together, I was not overly thrilled about that. I got in touch with EcoFlow and was like, you know, WTF. And they were very quick to respond, and they asked me to send them a video of what was kind of going wrong. So I'm going to do that now, but I'm going to try again because I just want to make sure that I got it right. And also, this battery was like in the 40%, and this one was full, and I don't know if the high variance on the capacity of both at that point was, I just don't know. Here's what I do know. When people start getting into the point of like linking batteries and linking generators and running things in parallel, from my experience being on the road and now living in the war wagon full time, that's not my shtick, especially if I know that there's already a product like the Delta that works at full capacity, is extremely efficient, and is just one thing. I'm not really interested in having to link up multiple things and have all this extra space needed to chain several batteries when I could get it in one. So I'm not like super excited about doing this part, but we are going to try it again because if it's something that they can fix, then we definitely want them to fix it so that anybody who orders can have that update. Link. Link. Do you want to go first this time? Linked. I'm gonna turn this one on. Don't shit the bed. Okay, now we're both linked. Everybody good? Y'all feeling alright? We're gonna boil some water and do some other stuff. I don't get that. I don't know why, like, I don't know. I would not personally go through this whole rigmarole. I wouldn't, but, you know, some of you were into that. So, like, let's try to plug some things in, okay? Let's do the hairdryer. Clearly there's like some mojo about hooking one up and then which one gets turned on first. I would never particularly buy something or create a setup like that. That just seems like too much of a pain in the ass. I have watched some other YouTubers, and their challenge, barring the hardware update, at least so far, was that at a very high sustained wattage output, that one of them was shutting off. And again, I don't know if that is totally solved by the hardware output. I also, because I've gotten rid of all my stuff that is high energy demand, because of how I live, I don't have the power tools or anything else to demonstrate a really, really high output. But in theory, the whole design here was that you should be able to link these up and then get something that is the equivalent to like the Honda 2200. And, you know, I mean, everyone has their own personal preference, but it just seems to me like too much to do it this way. The other thing that I missed before we switch back to yesterday in this video is that you are supposed to be able to link these up as a continuous power source, and you should be able to chain them up to charge in a row. So you don't have to have like all these cords all over the place. So let's check that part out, right? Yeah. Yes, I can recharge both of them at the same time if I've got this one plugged into a standard outlet and then link them together from the AC to the charge. This one has an input of 696 watts and this one 325-ish. So that's an option. The question from here is, and then this is frequently asked of these batteries, is can you use them while they are charging? So you are asking an awful lot of a battery at that point, but we can try. I switched from the low hairdryer setting to the high and it didn't like that. We're at 340 watts input, 0 output. Turn this on. Nope. Overload. Too hot. Okay, on the low setting for the hairdryer, the input and the output stayed constant. But it did not, like... Let's see if we can do it without it plugged in. It's a far less expensive battery compared to its bigger, beefier, stronger output, and it has some limitations. I don't know what the deal is with chaining them all up. I know some other people have had issues. I was able to do it, but I don't have the tools to really push it to its absolute max. But otherwise, I mean, on its own, pretty damn good to me. You know, sometimes with the review videos, and it is, part of the review is testing it to its absolute max, and I am a little bit limited in that capacity. But when you're buying this stuff, think about what you're actually going to be using it for, and then purchase accordingly. And not particularly with EcoFlow, but I've seen some other battery and generator test where, you know, it's a 2,000 watt generator and they hook it up to some massive power saw to show you that it's going to trip and it's not going to work. And it's like, well, duh. No matter what kind of power source you buy, there's going to be limitations. And it sounds like the limitations here are when you are chaining them up, or if you have continuous high power needs like running power tools or something like that, that are going to be a little bit too much for this. That's obvious. Okay, I think that's like we found the limitation there, right? A very high wattage continuous source. If you find that you need a very high wattage continuous source, might I suggest a house like with plugs? You know, to some capacity, I think we need to like keep it real about how much you're willing to pay for how much capacity, and then what it can really do. And so I've seen certainly some criticism of these, but at least in my case, it ran my kettle and it ran the hair dryer, and that was the only thing that I really didn't have a power source for when I was on the road. So for my purposes, for my needs, like, it was fine. When I decide to set up a carpentry business in the back and need a circle saw and a blowtorch and all kinds of lights and all that, you know, I may need to upgrade. But for my needs, like, these were fine. Here's the take-home message. I wish that I had had any of these on my van build. I mean, I'm in a different thing now because I'm in a fifth wheel and I'm not moving around nearly as much as I was. But any of these are going to make your life infinitely easier. And more importantly, a lot of you struggle with how to do the electric in your build or trying to add more plugs or power to your RV. And these kind of just take it out of the box and roll with it are going to make your life so much easier than taking down paneling, than hiring an electrician, than all that stuff. So it really, I'm jealous. That's the moral of this story. When you're trying to make this decision between these, I think it's important to look at how much space you have. Right? So if you need a lot of power, you've got to accommodate something that's bigger, but at the same time, if you go the inexpensive route, then you have more of these batteries. So no matter what, you still have to give yourself a good amount of space if you're putting these in a recreational vehicle, because they have these vents and they have to stay cool. Huge price differences. We've got, a $299 or total package $399. But if you want to get up to the equivalent of this, okay, so $399 plus $399 is still not as expensive as this, but this has way more capacity and way more power, right? I mean, this thing was pretty much close to a plug, and these I definitely had to wait a while, and then I was down to half of my battery capacity. So all things for you to think about, but no matter what, EcoFlow is just running to the finish line on trying to out-innovate and outperform in the lithium-ion battery sector. And give them another 6 months and God knows what else they'll come out with, okay? Just remember, these are on Kickstarter right now, so your purchase process is a little bit different, but they have already exceeded the goal, so the product's moving forward. It's not like they're not going to reach their intended goal and then the whole thing gets canceled. I just checked. They're like 899% above their goal. So just think about it. Think about what price point. And something else that's really unique about these, that this can't be changed, is that these are kind of like make it your own, if that makes sense, right? So, you may start your van life and you think, well, I'm not going to need that much power. I think everybody thinks that. And then you may get 2 months into it and decide that actually you need a lot. Well, you can add more of these separately without having to purchase a whole nother unit, or you can add additional batteries, right? So this can kind of be accommodated more to whatever your needs are, versus this where you're making that like one-time upfront investment. I will put all the links, all the discounts, all that jazz in the notes for this video, and if you get it, let me know how you like it. But I'm gonna go drink some tea, damn it, because I have 1 cup of tea here and 1 cup of tea here, and when I say cup, I mean a 20-ounce Yeti.